sympathy man.
Yes.
You know, for the suffering of other people. Have you no sense of purpose?
President Joe Biden blows up on Trump during his awful press conference today. This happens as more Democrats are in full panic mode over Kamala's campaign. Meanwhile, Trump is surging as we are only just 25 days out from the election. So first, let's take a look at this awful press conference and witness why 68% of Americans believe this country is going in the wrong direction. Watch this.
Mr. President, on FEMA funding, how much time does Congress have to act before FEMA or the SBA run out of money?
That's in discussion now. I don't want to give you mislead you. I think in terms of the SBA, it's pretty right at the edge right now. And I think the Congress should be coming back and moving on the emergency needs immediately. And they're going to have to come back after the election as well, because it's going to be a long haul for total rebuilding. It's going to take several $1 billion. It's not going to be a matter of just a little bit. But we're providing now to make sure people have the emergency relief they need. The dollars just to be able to get a prescription filled, to get a baby formula done. All the things, that $750 that they're talking about, Mr. Trump and all those other people know it's a lie to suggest that's all they're going to get. That's bizarre. It's bizarre. They got to stop this. They're being so damn un-American with the way they're talking about this stuff. But there's going to be a need for significant amounts of money. We're already underway at trying to calculate what the cost will be because we don't want to mislead anybody. We want to make sure all the costs are able to be covered.
No, I believe the point that Donald Trump was saying is that that's all they've gotten. And there's a lot of people who are being denied. But you don't want to talk about that because you have no idea what's going on. We do know that. You guys were caught with your pants down when it came to Hurricane Helene. Let's just be honest. And this lie that they keep pushing where they're calling everything that's coming out of Hurricane Helene's response as misinformation is just a bunch of bull. And the bigger story with everything here is that you guys were not prepared for Hurricane Helene.
Spoken to Speaker Johnson about coming back before the election to vote?
No, I haven't.
Mr. President, so are you calling on Congress to come back early?
I think Congress should move as rapidly as they can, particularly on the most immediate need, which is small business.
But are you the Vice President said yesterday that FEMA has what it needs. There's enough resources. That Congress does not need to come back, right?
FEMA has its needs. That's different than SBA.
Okay, so it's SBA. They need to come back and do SBA.
Yeah, but they're going to need a lot more.
Mr. President, what did Prime Minister Netanyahu tell you about his plans relating to retaliation?
He's coming over to help with the storm.
Mr. President, have you spoken with former President Trump at all?
Are you kidding me? Mr. President Trump, former President Trump, get a life, man. Help these people.
Will you hold him accountable? You said you were going to hold those accountable.
Public will hold them accountable. You better than the press hold them accountable because you know the truth.
Will you plan to speak with former President Trump?
No.
Okay, so just three things here. Number one, why would the prime minister from Israel be helping out with storms that are happening here in America? Can you guys make sense of that? See, this is why Americans believe we're on the wrong track, because we have a president who doesn't know where he is, who he is, and what he is talking about. It's just absolutely dangerous as it pertains to the world stage. The second thing is clearly there's a miscommunication between him, Kamala Harris, and Mayorkas, right? Mayorkas comes out and says, well, FEMA doesn't have enough funds. But then he just said, no, SBA doesn't have enough funds. And then Kamala Harris is saying, yeah, we have everything we need. So what is the actual truth? They don't know what they're talking about. And his final comment where he's telling Trump to get a life, Trump has nothing to do with your guys' failures as it pertains to the hurricane response. And maybe part of that is because when it comes to Trump, he's always going to tell the truth in such a funny way. Here he is on Andrew Schultz's podcast exposing Joe Biden.
Over the last week, I have to, when we talk about funny or sad, I think it's more sad than funny.
Yeah.
He has one ability I don't have.
Yeah.
He sleeps. He can sleep. This guy goes on a beach And he lays down on one of those, 6-ounce, they weigh 6 ounces and he can't lift it. And somebody convinced him he looks good in a bathing suit. And when you're 82, typically bathing suits aren't going to make you look great. You're not going to be enhanced. Yeah. All right? It's just one of those things. I can't be sure about that, but typically,
depends what he's packing. He could.
I don't know what the hell he's packing, but I don't want to, and I don't want to know either. I don't know, but he has an ability to fall asleep while on camera. He can lie down on one of those things, and in minutes he's stone cold out.
How does he do it?
And he's got cameras because he's the president, so they have cameras on him. Yeah. And then they show him sleeping on the beach.
Yeah.
You'll never see me sleeping in front of camera.
I mean, did anything that he say, was it false? It was true. Optics are everything. When Hurricane Helene hit, where was the president? He was on the beach. Where was the vice president? She was in San Francisco raising money for her campaign. And where was everyone else from the government? They were slow to respond. So when Trump exposes the truth about these individuals, it becomes personal to them. That's why they hate him so much. And they also hate Fox News, especially like someone like Judge Jeanine, who goes on and tears into Biden over that awful press conference. Hear this.
When a president gives an address, he is supposed to calm the American people when they're in the middle of a stressful situation. But for him to turn this into a political event where he trashes the candidate of the opposite party that his Department of Justice has indicted and says to him, "Get a life, man." I mean, he wants to talk about un-American. He should do something. Donald Trump is the person who worked with Elon Musk to get them Starlink. Donald Trump is the person who gave his Doral properties to the Florida Power and Light workers so that they could have some place to stay and have a center for them. And it's Donald Trump who is handing out food and water. His administration, Biden's administration, took 8 days to get 500 people to North Carolina.
She is just dead on about that. And this is why you guys always hear me say that when the Democrats accuse Trump of doing X, Y, or Z, what they are really doing is describing themselves. They continue to say that Trump is using the hurricane for political gain. But when they give Trump attention, and they make the conversation more about Trump and what he's been doing, what are they doing in that moment? They are politicizing the disaster. And it's not just the Democrats who are guilty at this. It's also the media. They keep talking about Trump. They keep talking about Kamala. And every time they do it, when it comes to Governor Ron DeSantis, what does he do? He embarrasses her. Listen to this.
Hey, Governor, could you just help clear something else up that happened earlier this week? And we were actually debating it at this table. So I got to ask. There was some praise that came your way from President Biden and said that you had spoken. Then there was this brouhaha over Vice President Harris apparently reaching out to you and maybe not taking the call, and this whole thing, accusations that this had all become politicized. Can you just speak to what happened there?
I am working with the President of the United States. I'm working with the director of FEMA. The fact of the matter is they put out a story saying I didn't even know she was trying to reach me, but she has no role in this process. And I've been dealing with these storms in Florida under both Trump and Biden. Neither of them ever politicized it. She has never called in Florida. She has never offered any support. So what she's doing is she's trying to inject herself into this because of her political campaign. And for her to try to say that my focus should be on catering to her rather than worrying about my own people just shows she doesn't understand what it means to respond to these natural disasters.
So Governor Ron DeSantis is doing his job. He's focused on doing his job. And to all accounts, he's the best at doing his job. Why does the media continue to ask these questions? They're obsessed with Trump. That's why you saw the anger from Joe Biden. He literally had a meltdown at that awful press conference. And it actually speaks to a larger issue that is taking place in the Democratic Party, especially in the Kamala Harris campaign, because they know she's in trouble and they're panicking at this point. So let's hear from a top pollster on this exact issue.
Polling. Okay. I said something about polling yesterday, both on the morning meeting and here.
about what I'm hearing from Democrats and Republicans. And there's a branch of the Democratic Party that I would say can't handle the truth. I've made it clear Harris can still win. Where the polls are now don't necessarily represent where things will end up. Trump has a lot of problems. Her turnout operation is far superior to his. Abortion rights could surge voters to the polls. There's all sorts of reasons. But the snapshot of where we are now is there are a lot of really worried Democrats. And there are really no worried Republicans, including in Mar-a-Lago. They're very confident about where things stand. And you can go on my Twitter feed and see some of the back and forth. I would say to these people is, I'm not rooting for Trump or saying he's going to win, but I am telling you that Democrats, including people who are polling, for instance, for Democratic Senate candidates in states that are battleground states, they're really worried. There are people working for Kamala Harris who are really worried.
You know what? He makes a great point. At least they are finally acknowledging that there is a problem, because for the last 60 days, they've been acting like they're on cloud nine, that she is the second coming to Jesus Christ, and that Trump is bad. And the only reason why you should be voting for her is not because she has policies, which she does not because she really is competent at doing her job, which she is not because she is the better leader than Trump, because she is not. It's because that Trump is bad and he's the biggest threat to democracy. The problem is that message doesn't work because they played that song in 2020 and now people are tired of that. And when you have someone like James Carville, who is clearly Trump deranged, coming out and expressing how scared he is that Trump will win, I think it speaks to what's really going on internally in her campaign. Listen to this.
Only thing I feel is the election's coming November 5th. And I'm scared to death, and I'll get a time to, obviously.
You're not in a reflective mood.
Not in a particular reflective mood right now. I'm very, very concerned and very
What does
scared.
Harris need to do with the month left?
But 7 months left. Let's start. We got 26 days.
Yep.
Today is gone. You're going to lose 4 to the hurricane. Just subtract that. We're going to get blank. You're not going to be able to get much out for the next 4 days. So, and everything kind of shuts down the Saturday before the election. So you're really probably under 20 days that you have to really get a message out. They need to be sharp. They need to be aggressive. They need to stop answering questions and start asking questions.
One key word that he said in there, they need to be aggressive. That's not who Kamala Harris is. That's not the campaign that they've been running. The only way they've been aggressive is when they talk about Trump. People are exhausted at that message. You need to tell people how you're going to make their life better and why you are different than Joe Biden. And guys, I can't tell you why is it that the candidate herself can't answer that question. But more importantly, why is it that her surrogates can't even answer that question? Listen to this.
Vice President Harris has been asked repeatedly how she's different than President Biden, and some people think she's been tripped up by answering that. How do you think she is different than President Biden?
Well, first of all, whatever the differences is between them, it's not nearly as vast as the difference between her and Donald Trump. She's obviously a woman. She is a woman of color, and she is of a new generation. So she is not Joe Biden, as much as they want to try to make her Joe Biden. But she was and is part of the Biden administration.
Okay, but you don't explain when you say she's of a new generation. What does that mean? That's like saying my opportunity economy. It sounds great, but I don't know what you mean, okay? Just because she's a person of color, just because she's a woman, just because she's 60 years old, what does that mean, though? They can't even answer the most basic question that's at the top of the list in almost every single voter that's been considering Kamala Harris, and that is, what is the difference? And by the way, don't put any faith in her vice president running mate, because he can't even answer that question.
One of the things I hear often from voters as they go around is, our economy stinks. I know you hear it, and I asked Jay Pritzker about it a week ago, and he said the message isn't getting through. Does your campaign need to change the message on the economy to reach the voters you need?
I think we just keep getting at them. Look, folks know if prices go up, housing becomes more expensive, and I've talked about this. It doesn't spending time on that Donald Trump left a mess when he left. They want to know what we're doing right now, and I think where Kamala Harris is talking about making housing more affordable.
She hasn't been talking about that. She hasn't been talking about how she will make housing affordable. In fact, her policy will actually make housing more expensive. Why? Because she wants the border to be open, which means what? The demand for housing is going to go up, which means what? The prices for housing is going to go up. And then if the government chooses to spend $25,000 to give a down payment to first-time home buyers. What does that mean? The government is going to spend more money. And what does that mean? It's going to cause inflation. People, we have to wake up, right? This is insanity at this point. Now, before I go any further, do me a favor. If you're getting value from this video, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this channel. If you want to support us further, go to the link in the description below, grab yourself a t-shirt, or buy us a cup of coffee. I mean, it is just insanity at this point. Don't lose your faith yet, because there are still people going on to the mainstream media and exposing her campaign for what it really is. Listen to this.
A Quinnipiac poll showed Harris was ahead in Michigan and Wisconsin. Now, the same poll shows Trump leading in those states and, by the way, closing the gap in Pennsylvania. Seems to me that Trump has momentum and Harris has stalled. You agree with that?
I do, and this is why. I think that when you approach a campaign like this entirely based on the assumption that the media can market you as some type of generational political talent, something that she's never actually shown herself to be, you're counting on a lot of people to make the case for you based on vibes, not on anything that you're actually going to do as president. That's why you see their change in strategy over the past week, where they've embarked on this media blitz to a bunch of friendly interviewers, trying to reshape and reestablish her as someone who is the face of the future, as someone who has momentum. I don't think she's been successful doing that. And I think that the blue wall that they once had is increasingly trending toward Donald Trump. And I don't think that they really have a plan to get their feet back under them in time to win in November.
Kind of like this election cycle has been infiltrated by noise and manufactured positive coverage of Kamala Harris. And now that chicken is coming home to roost, and it is showing that it is bad news for her campaign, especially when the numbers are screaming that, okay? And one of the reasons why Trump is continuing to surge is because no matter how many times the media keeps accusing him of not staying on message, he goes out there and he says this.
Today, I am also announcing that as part of our tax cuts, we will make interest on car loans fully deductible.
So why should we be surprised? Why are Democrats surprised? Because she has not been providing any specifics as it pertains to what's going to help people right now. Let's go down the list really quick. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, capping interest rates on credit cards, making sure that the interest rates on a car loan are deductible. That helps people right now, not in the future, right now. And that's the difference between when he speaks about policies and when she speaks about policies. So when you think about it all and you put it into perspective, Joe Biden has to be fuming with whatever's left in his mind of his at former President Trump, because he sees that he is surging. He doesn't like the attention that Trump gets. They're labeling everything that is a criticism of how they've been responding as misinformation. The problem is that they are misinformed, that Americans are not buying that anymore. You crammed that down our throats when it came to COVID. That's not going to work anymore. And people truly know the truth because we are pushing it out now with videos like this and people like you. That's my opinion. What do you guys think about Joe Biden getting so angry at Trump during his awful press conference? And now more Democrats are publicly going out there and panicking about Kamala Harris's campaign. And let me know what you think about that in the comment section below. Thank you for checking out the video today. And if you missed the story exposing the Democrats panicking over Kamala Harris's campaign, you can click on that video that's coming up right now.